Hi, Paul.
Mr. Jabal, how are you doing?
All good, man.
Good, good.
Welcome to the Shape Notes podcast.
Thank you very much.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
So here's where we're going to start. My IT teacher, his name was, what was this guy's name? I'm forgetting his name, but this is Nyamadzao from Guero.
From
Are you
good.
guys related?
Could be. So
Yeah, his name is Proud.
I always get a lot of
Proud
questions.
Nyamadzao.
I always get a lot of questions about Nyamadzos from Mutare and Guero. I think it's high time I actually start looking at that family tree. Probably we are related.
Yeah, you have a lot of relatives, but he was a good guy. He's the person he was my computer studies
Oh,
teacher.
nice.
He's the person that introduced me to computers
Great.
and this
makes
developed to this point as an interest of mine. So let's talk about your childhood and your upbringing and how it affected your where you are today in terms of entrepreneurship and business.
And business. So I grew up in a family of four, being the last born and the only boy, by the way. Typically, in any other African family, I'm also not from a third wealth generation. So it was literally you had to work for yourself. You had to create the wealth, for instance, which is a process that really led me to where I am today. I grew up in Chitungisa for 18 years of my life.
Okay.
I also was fortunate to go to good schools for both my high school. When did my O levels at St Ignatius and A level at Prince Edward. But however, the bridge or the gap or the difference between where I actually was coming from and the communities that I then got to get my education from, I could potentially say were a very good eye opener for me. Experiencing what life is in the ghetto, but also having a chance to see what other opportunities are there through a relatively groupy education system was a good eye opener for me. As a result, for instance, from our family, it was either the girls were either doing St. Dominic's, the guys were doing St. Ignatius. So my dad went to St. Ignatius, I went to St. Ignatius. Okay. My mom went to St. Dominic's. All my three sisters went to St. Dominic's. So that's typically what they believed, and I feel it paid good dividends. And I got good education at St. Ignatius, which was very good. Prince Edward then molded fully the human I am in a lot of emotional intelligence, how to be able to attack the world as it comes. So it's not only an education world. You will not only make it as an academic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to be considerate about. Yeah. So about my upbringing, I feel like that balance allowed me to make concise decisions and paved the way for where I am hoping to get.
But is there something specific about the schools that you just mentioned?
So
that kind of stood out for you, for your dad especially, to kind of recommend you guys go to those schools?
So for him, I know very much as also staunch Catholics. It was there was a no-brainer about going to a Catholic school for education. I think then the choice was which one is the best in that regard. Also, I think what was important was the ethos that came from those schools. The spirituality of St. Ignatius, as Catholics would call it, was a good spiritual bringing that immersed it in academics, allowed to create a more upright character within the society. So I think that was one of the key drives of me actually attending that school. The same I would say with my sisters as well, to say that was the thought process when they were considering those schools as well.
All right. And how does faith play in that, in your life? How do you make that integration?
So it's important to, like St. Ignatius, for instance, always says AMDG, for the greater glory of God.
Yeah.
I've always saw that in everything that you do, you should see God in it.
Yeah.
So it's always about what decision am I making. If I'm becoming an entrepreneur, am I being a creative or disruptive? Am I being a societal development entrepreneur? What am I speaking to? If it's in a work setup, how do I correlate with either colleagues? If it's a social status, how do I ensure that what I want to be known for by the community or by the society is ultimately rooted within glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's should have been Socrates who said something like, an unexamined life is not worth living.
Sure.
And you just spoke about, your faith and how it integrates to your everyday life and entrepreneurship and all that. But can you talk about, like, have you established what your purpose is? Do you actually know why you are here? That's the big question that all of us care. And some people have figured it out, but do you think you have kind of nailed it in terms of what your purpose is?
So that question is actually quite tricky. I will tell you just off the tape with that.
Yeah.
So I studied chemical technology.
Okay.
Right now I'm stuck in entrepreneurship, full-time global entrepreneur.
Right.
Also into a lot of business development. So the work that I do at ABC Connect, for instance, is I'm a network enthusiast.
Okay.
I create networking platforms for people. Totally different from what I studied. I think that to me has been a journey to say education was one thing, going through varsity was one thing, doing a certain degree at varsity was one thing. But where's your passion? So life is an oscillation that's quite interesting because you get to learn new things about passion.
Yeah.
In the wake up sometimes, and this country, for instance, will force you to, I can't say force, maybe we have limited options in terms of what we want to do because of the economic situations, etc.
Yeah.
That also then has a lot of people really straying off from the passions that they actually want to have. So you see people end up doing engineering because the belief is that probably get paid more in that industry. But some people actually are very passionate nurses, for instance, but they're forced to do certain things. I think it's also something that has also affected me, but I try to fight it. I try to fight the fact that I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I couldn't do it because I did chemical technology. I can still do it.
Yeah.
I always have those conversations, but then I look at it, okay, fine. It's not about age catching up with me, but it's also about life developmental. So I have made it a consigned point to create happiness within what I have. So happiness for me to cover up for what I wanted it to be was me getting into entrepreneurship and getting into programs that allow me to speak. To actually have my voice heard. Might be not a quote, but at least it's speaking.
All right. So, I also had a similar experience like you spoke about, and, about people being forced into certain things, right? So, in my high school, for instance, there was this idea that if you're not the smartest people in the science class, and, the second smartest are in the commercials. And then the last ones are in the arts class, right? So if you were smart, you had to be in a science class. So it forced a lot of people that didn't even want to do sciences to end up doing scientists because, you want to keep up with that kind of perception. So what was your experience in that? Do you think you're also kind of, led to that path because you were running away from the same thing? Or maybe it was a different experience for you?
So I think that line of thought was very much what most African parents during our time, some are still lagging behind to it, really thought was the best for their children. You see that typically if you're coming from a family where you are actually expected to be the success or you are a development of the family, there are certain expectations that either you're supposed to be in a profession that is considered of higher up in the pay zone. So that typically is your typical pilot in engineering, doctors, etc. But that shun away from a lot of passions about what the people actually wants to do. So imagine if you are going to go there and tell them, "Oh, I want to be a professional footballer." Imagine how that conversation was going to go. So I think it's something like that that unfortunately I can't call it unfortunate, but shaped a lot of professionals. Not that we're struggling with such talent, but there's a lot of emotional intelligence and rerouting that people need to find what their actual goal or what their purpose is. I think draws us back to the first question you asked me, that if I'm in full confidence of who I am and where I'm going. It's what I said. It's a journey. It's oscillations. You meet different scenarios that make you happy. You thought that maybe I wanted to be a lawyer, but what if I actually had gone through it and I realized, no. Is it midlife crisis? No, it might not be. But it's actually typically what makes you wake up every day, and you're happy to do it. It might give you money, it might not, but the satisfaction to some greater consideration extent is very important.
So I think where I struggle with this is twofold, right? The first thing is, like I struggle with the idea that everyone needs to do the same thing. That all kids need to learn the same way.
Sure.
We are all the same. I kind of struggle with that because we obviously learn in different ways and we're different in many ways. So I feel like the optimum way to do it is to kind of try to, look at what each kid has, where their strengths are and try to maximize on those. Then the second sort of problem I have is with the adults in the room, right? Like, in this case, we are now the adults in the room. Like,
we're not the adults.
Like, it's like, okay, they obviously have more experience of the real world. I suppose it's why they kind of have that perception because they feel like, if you kind of go in an unconventional route, you end up stuck. But there's also a sense in which, I've heard at least a lot of those sentiments echoed by people that are much older than me, that they wish that they had done certain things in a different way. Right. And the idea is, the funny thing is, okay, fine, we had 10 people that went in the same road and nothing changed. Wouldn't it be a great idea to actually try the other way,
So the thing is, there's no other way. Yeah. I think we've created scenarios and paths in our mind that potentially create paths as definitive. You see that even in your own profession, there's a certain path that, because life is not math. It's not factual. It's not about 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 might give you 11 if you're looking at the societal intelligence. So is there a definitive way? Maybe not. Do you create your own path? That's a different conversation, because the path that you put yourself on, that you decide that I want to be a disruptive entrepreneur, I want to be a disruptive thinker, I want to be a disruptive professional, is something that I feel is much more important when it comes to alignment. I feel like alignment with personal goals is determined by how you position them. What you call satisfaction and what you call rewarding in your life might be certainly different from what X calls it. Do we call that X as failed if they failed to achieve what you determine or define as a success? I don't necessarily think so. So it's also important that those limitations that we've grown to be a part of, where you have to stay on this path, you have to get a master's, for instance, you have to get a doctorate for you to be considered successful. You have to probably make CEO, you have to probably be part of a board, for instance, for you to be defined successful. Are there certain paths that I feel have kind of demoralized people from the actual realization? There are some people that are happier as drivers. Exactly. They wake up to it and they're happy with it, and that's their path. That is their cap. I think it's just a mere realization of respecting people's different paths. Unfortunately, it's not a custom store scenario where we're saying if you don't trade in this path or if you don't stay on this path, you are a failure in life. Yes, definitely there are societal outliers that we need to speak about and be open about and be factual, to not marinate and call them all good behavior because you've decided to take this path and call it a path, and then we need to respect it regardless of it being a social outlier. Definitely it's not those. So I think that's important, that we respect people's path as they are definitive, as they define them personally, and be able to see exactly how does it shape them as a human being. To me, what's more important is the human being you become after you immerse yourself in a certain society, community, in a certain profession, in a certain trade. It's about how that develops the next person that you're going to become.
And I want you maybe to zero in on your business and how you actually identify that talent. So you obviously have a lot of, we were just talking about my Mandela Fellowship experience, and I was telling you about Professor Doggett. And one of the things that he said that resonated with me is like, people that have businesses, stop looking at your employees as necessary evils, right? So And I thought that was very important. So how do you, kind of identify different talents or different skill sets within your organization, and how do you kind of maximize those? Given that you just said, people are different and they thrive in different areas and in different ways. So how do you optimize that within your own company?
So I run a mobile detailing business called Sparkle. I think that's one is easier for me to speak about because I've been in it for the most.
Okay.
It being a hands-on trade comes with a different skill set in terms of actually how you clean a car.
Yeah.
You know that this person knows how to clean the car interior better. This person knows how to actually speak to clients. This person knows how, when they get to the ground, because I'm not with the team all the time, when they get to the ground, they have good customer care, for instance. They will know how to upscale a package. Like when you get there, client wants more. So it's things like that I've learned to rotate. So I do skill rotation system.
Yeah.
Skill rotation system for me allows me to identify when someone is under pressure or when someone is not under pressure. When someone does their work faster, more efficient, more quality. For me, quality is the measure. Is it about the quality, not about the time taken?
Yeah.
What will you do when you take them from that row and put them in somewhere else? What's their reliability index? Do they jump on it quicker? Do they integrate it easier? How easily can they become a team player? So I've just recently started building like a full throttle administrative team.
Yeah.
It's also about how do you maintain relations created? How do you create more relations? How do you have a good customer retention scheme? When people speak about our brand, what they align it with? Is it the same thing that they'll keep on saying 6 months down the line when I'm not in full control and someone else is managing it? So to me, those are typically some of the important things to do when you're doing talent upscale and acquisition.
Yeah.
Because it's imperative that your brand identity is not changed because of the new people that come.
Right.
So consistency of the brand image is important, and that will tell you exactly how the people that you've employed have understood who and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and it's impressive to me that you actually get into that detail, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs or business people sometimes do not pay enough detail to that, right? Sure. So it's like, okay, this person went to this university, they have this degree, then they're a good hire. But people don't really think about that kind of integration within the team, and also just laying out the vision to the people that you're working with so that they know exactly what it is that you are going after, because they're essentially also custodians of that vision that you carry. So maybe you can just speak to the importance of that, like, to fellow entrepreneurs and people that have business. How important is it for them to actually pay attention to who they hire and kind of what roles they fulfill within that range?
So that's a good question, Jabola, because I think most entrepreneurs need to ask them one question first before they actually get into the whole talent acquisition.
Yeah.
It's exactly where you as an entrepreneur want to go. So what is your bigger picture? What's your ultimate goal? Or at what point do you feel like you can sit back at home comfortably, can actually start something else differently, or play what you always wanted to do? Maybe you want to just wake up and play golf, but you know that you've got a company that's running full time without you being involved in it. That question is important because it determines how you sell your brand to your own employees. So if it's a quick fix where this is just us to get money right now, or I'm starting this business to buy a house, I want to just raise money to buy a house, your employees will cap to working towards to just getting 100,000 in profit. They're not going to think what's the next big idea that's going to get us to the next 100,000 and ultimately get us to 1 million, and ultimately how do we get to 1 billion?
Yeah.
Those questions are important for you to answer yourself first before you sell the vision to the team. If the team comes there and feels like there's a roof on the founder's mindset or expectations toward the brand and the services, that ultimately puts a roof on the employees. So don't expect don't expect employees to come to you with ideas or with developments in a scenario where you've shown them that, look, I'm just here to pay my bills. As long as I pay my bills, I'm happy. Yes, we can keep the business running, but my bills are paid.
Yeah.
So they'll just give you the bare minimum. But it's also about what is the bigger goal. So it's important that entrepreneurs sell their own story to their own employees. Only then I am 80% certain you can build a team that respects your journey, where you've been, what you want to achieve, and ultimately what is the bigger goal, not the end goal.
Yeah.
What is the bigger goal to the development?
And I feel like we understand that like on an intuitive level. Right? We like, your Marvels and all of that, or the dream team and all those things, right? In a dream team, right, everyone has their own part. Not everyone is playing the same part, but everyone has to play their part perfectly for it for whatever goal to be achieved, right? So I think that's very important that you say that. So I'm taking you back.
Sorry about that. I would actually suggest people read a book called The E-Myth.
Okay, E-Myth.
The E-Myth, the entrepreneurship myth.
Okay.
I think when I read that book recently, it's really defined a lot of gray areas in my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
It spoke about how you define, are you the entrepreneur? Who's the team leader?
Okay.
What does it mean? Are you and the founder, are you also the team leader?
Okay.
It gets to question you to say, you might be the owner of the company, but are you fit enough to actually run the company that you think you?
Yeah.
You might be the brains behind your coding, but are you the actual right person to take that to the next level? So that book, I'm sure the insight will be there.
Yeah.
It's good for entrepreneurs to just immerse themselves in that book. You'll get to learn a lot.
Great. Thank you so much for that recommendation. I was going to take you back, to your upbringing, because when I was growing up, I used to watch a lot of MacGyver, and later on in high school, I think, primary school, I was watching a series called Scorpion, Walter O'Brien. Those were kind of people that inspired me to want to innovate, or in the case of Scorpion, start a tech startup and whatever. So and I was watching a lot of one of my nicknames in high school was Bill Gates, because I was watching a lot of Bill Gates. Nah, I was wearing specs at the time. I don't remember. Well, yeah, I think
you were wearing specs.
But it was because I was watching like a lot of tech documentaries all the time.
Yeah.
And at the time, Bill Gates was but so yeah, maybe speak to your journey, and who were some of those figures that you looked up to that have inspired you in your entrepreneurial journey.
To be frank, in my early childhood, not much TV. I was also just one of those people that enjoyed the generic cartoons. Your Travel Plazas, I remember. But when I was of good age, I think I've binged on The Big Bang Theory for, if not 5 times now.
I'm watching what's it called? The remake. It's not the remake.
Oh, the Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon.
I
love this. Yeah.
So it was funny because I think when I started watching the Big Bang, that's actually, I was in university to be frank. I know A-level.
Okay.
So how I started it was like, maybe I'm actually doing the sciences. Maybe I might actually get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's actually get to see what other scientists actually do. That's when I started binging it. Right?
Yeah.
But I also started watching it for fun.
Okay.
Then I got to a point at some points where I was binging on Suits, because then Suits was trying to cover up the lawyer that I thought I was going to be.
Harvey Specter.
So Harvey Specter, definitely.
Yeah.
So those 2 shows, to be frank, I'm not a TV person. I don't want to lie to you.
Yeah.
But those 2 shows ultimately try to bridge the gap between, okay, fine. Am I getting my satisfaction from doing sciences by watching Big Bang Theory? Sheldon is fun, definitely. Yeah. Is Harvey Specter, can I speak low language? I would actually, at some point, I'll tell you that if you were really going to throw me in court, I'll be one of those ones that were like a fraud lawyer wins a case. I spoke of all of it, and it made me cover certain gaps. Yeah. I think it only did that, and I allowed it to be that, not to dwell so much into it to then have it confuse what I wanted to be or who I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we kind of are reminiscing on that time, because it was also a time where you would think that everything is possible,
True.
right? And not actually question. Because I remember when I was in high school, I just thought everything was possible. But then when you start to move into what they call real life, you begin that transition outside of high school, you start working and all of that. There's a sense in which, everyone around you tells you how impossible it is to do almost anything. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe what has been your experience in terms of, that transition from being a child who has, all this sort of, I think even Jesus said, don't harm one of these little children, because kingdom of heaven is of such. I hope I'm not butchering that text, but the point is, there's something about being a kid that is very special, right? And the idea that anything is possible. At what point did you lose that, if at all you lost it?
That's a difficult question, Jabulo. I think, look, I appreciate the childhood. To be frank, when you look back at it, it was a time where the sky was the limit. I remember when I went to high school, my bed cover was so my dad bought me a bed cover that glowed in the evening, and it was of the space, the galaxy, because I actually thought I was going to be an astronaut. So it's things like that you look back, it's like, yeah, that was a good thought process, because it was not caged, it was not capped. It was a moment, a time, an upbringing where you felt that there's no limits. So you don't create limits for yourself.
Exactly.
I think that's one beauty that I've got 7 nephews and nieces, and I look at them, it's when you have conversations that they want to do this, they actually do it at some age. They're doing some of the things, they're not restrictive. It's not a restrictive age, to be frank. You appreciate it as you grow up, when actually now, I wouldn't want to call it reality, but I want to call it life. When life starts to show you where the full globe is, what journey you could take on, what certain paths you can create for yourself. Then you start to look back, can I link those with the thoughts that I had as a child? Possible, maybe. It's not like we thought about creating things that were out of this world. We would build motor wires, we'll build cars, it's things like that. It's just in a downscale mode. But it's a realization. It's important that you look back at it with pride, that I am glad at some point this was what I thought I wanted to be. Because it showed that I had the energy to think about it.
Exactly.
I think sometimes it's about the energy to think about it that matters the most, more than actually getting to do it. Because then it aligns you. So when I think about that bed cover, it's still there today. I look at it and I smile, like, look, I might not be an astronaut today, but someone out there is actually looking at me and saying, thank you, you've done something that I never thought I was going to do, or can you help me do this? And that's my journey. I'm also in my space helping other entrepreneurs that have gone through what I've gone through to realize what they could be. So does it give you satisfaction? Very much. Yeah.
And, still on that, like, even when we're kids, right, this is kind of speaks to the naivety of being a kid, right? Or maybe not even a kid, just people outside, when they see someone who's an entrepreneur, who's a business, especially when they're successful, because, no one really pays attention to the journey. We always kind of appreciate the end product more. People always think of entrepreneurship as, glamorous and classy. But can you speak to your journey, and if you can also just kind of take a jab at that, perception about entrepreneurship being, all glossy and nice?
So I would speak about the journey, because I feel I'm still I'm not even halfway through what I want to have achieved by where I am now. But I can always speak about the lessons. I can always speak about the decisions made that have affected, the decisions made that have affected in a good and a bad way. So when we're looking at my entrepreneurial journey, for instance, I'll tell you the first company that actually started when I left college was an environmental consultancy. Because at that point, still in the plight of saying, I've already done sciences. Do I need to throw this degree away because I did chemical technology. Okay. Like, yeah, no, but there was environment. I did an environmental course, I remember. Environment makes me happy, to be frank. It was a space I started getting in because it made me feel fulfilled about the science industry.
Okay.
I never imagined myself in a lab court, wearing goggles, making things blow, blast, making things melt, disappear.
Yeah.
So I was like, this speaks to me. And to be honest, I started that enterprise called Renewable Eco Solutions with my other two friends confidently because it gave me good insights. And within that, I still created not only sound environmental practices that I thought made sense to me. One of the projects that I did, I remember, was called the Upcycle Kiosk. So the Upcycle Kiosk was a platform where we're going to help people that made upcycled products get a market. So communities have a different understanding and belief about upcycled products. So for instance, if I was going to give you an upcycled Castorlite glass made into a water glass, you'd look at it different as opposed to like a virgin glass made that is proper. So it was that were helping also the upcyclers that were making these products get to sell their story better. So yes, it was environmental, but yes, it allowed me to allow people to have voices to share and sell their own products. Yeah. So that's how I started. And then COVID happened. When COVID happened, I had also been looking at I loved cleaning my sister's cars, I remember. Okay. Before I even started my mobile detailing, I had bought equipment for like a year prior than that. Okay. So here and there, I'll just clean my sister's car. Not that I wanted to actually start a business on it, but I was doing it for fun.
Yeah.
But then COVID happened. When COVID happened, I was, lockdown. We're in lockdown. There are certain services that people are not getting. And I was like, I could monetize this. It was a chance. So it really, to be frank, it didn't start as a passion, I don't want to lie. Okay. It started as an opportunity to make money. So I started doing mobile car disinfectant, but you can't disinfect a dirty car. Yeah. So you have to clean it first. Yeah. So that then forced us to get into the full blown of it. That's how Sparko started. But as I was growing into it and I was getting into it, it started giving me good goosebumps where in every car that I would get in, I would eek. So one of my sisters would be like, if you get in my car today, please just be a man that I've got children. I've got children that can potentially mess this whole car. So don't look at my car. Yeah. So I've actually now, even most of my friends were like, when you get in my car, don't just look straight. Don't mess away. So I've also realized how much I then got so much into it. Yeah. Actually love the trade. Yeah. And in loving the trade, it allowed me to start seeing better and more opportunities about the trade that I actually chose to be in. To not just make it, I'm just coming there to wash a car for you, but I want to give you a service that is memorable. So it doesn't only speak to me actually cleaning your car, it also speaks to the post relation. It's also about the customer relationship that we have. What else can I potentially create in a full ecosystem for you? If I'm going to clean your car, can I not clean your house? So we've already started doing household cleaning as well. To say, if I come there, if I see anything dirty, I'm going to clean everything that's there. Or definitely not people, but everything that's there, we're going to make sure that happens. So it's at a time where you then immerse yourself in exactly what you're doing. You realize, am I doing it because I want the money? Or am I doing it because I actually want to make a difference, make money, and make this a business that can be run by 3 generations. Yeah. So it's about how you constantly change and evolve your business system, your business concept, your business services to ensure that you are moving with times.
Yeah, interesting. Because that was actually going to be my second question, to say, like, my follow-up question rather, to say, how do you, when it comes to entrepreneurship, like, what should be the focus? To give a good service that a lot of people like, or to just do it for the money? Toramar. Like, so, what should be the framing?
To me, money comes where there's good service.
Yeah.
One thing I understand about about people that get services is they also want the value from it.
Yeah.
I think you hear a lot of people saying, if my price is not within your range, then maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
You can go look for cheaper options,
Exactly.
or the cheaper option has made the quality look bad.
Yeah.
So those are the things that bite you back. So I think my belief is always sell the service.
Yeah.
Sell the service so that the value of the money speaks for itself. Yeah. You will see that my pitch, for instance, if I'm selling my service, I don't even speak about the money first before I speak about what I'm going to leave your car in a state. So if you're going to ask me what's this package, I'm not going to say, oh, this is an $80 full valet package. I'm going to sell to you that this package would literally flip your car over and have it close to new. You know, the moment I create a picture in you and I'm actually able to deliver the picture in actual service, the easier it is for you to pay that money without saying, oh, can I ask for a discount? Can I pay later? Can I pay in installments? So I feel like service-driven enterprises have a better chance of surviving more than enterprises that want to build well.
Yeah.
So the money will come easily.
Well, you know, like when it comes to customer service, I feel like we as a country have the worst. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's certainly something that we need to work on, regardless of which building you walk into. I feel like customer service, not just government, government people are usually grumpy, but just across the board. Like, why is it important for you to be able to? Because, you know, in most cases, in the interactions that I've had, whether it's in a supermarket, it feels like you are begging to actually for this, you know, to give them your money. Right? So it's like, what's going on here? But why is it important? You know, because I think, you know, I think the point that I was trying to make is you're dealing with people, right? And you not only do you want them to be repeat customers, but you want to also kind of offer something that they really need, as you have articulated. So why is that important for you to put a smile on your customer's face, or to just deliver, put a smile on their face, just give them a good service?
So I feel like the more you have a large, client acquisition, to be honest, when you get new clients, it's a good feeling. It sometimes alludes to growth. But client retention, personally, I feel is important.
Yeah.
It's the repeat customers that determine what value is in your service. So ultimately, if your client retention or your repeat clients index is 60% plus, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because what are the chances of 60 other people running the same service that you're running? Like, I run a car wash. I run a mobile car wash. I can think of 6 already mobile car washes that I already know competitors.
Yeah.
I can speak of hundreds of physical car washes that are just within this space, the vicinity of where we are right now, in like a 10-kilometer radius.
Yeah.
So what makes you different from all those other people? Trust me, even someone who's doing car wash under Pamuti, Paspemuti, can literally maybe be doing a better quality job than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But what distinguishes the two of us is the biggest question. Is it the price? Because it's probably cheaper than I am.
Yeah.
But how you communicate with the client, how you retain them, the services that you create. I believe in creating communities and enterprises. When you get a client, create a community in them where if they get into your space, rarely is there a chance that they'll go look for something else. So if they get in your space and there's an ecosystem that you're given, they could potentially buy from you. The chance that they'll get more services from you is much more than them just getting a part of it and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So creating communities within enterprises is important. That speaks to loyalty schemes, that speaks to membership schemes, that speaks to when I'm not washing your car, how are you knowing that I'm alive? Yeah. So it's about my content. It's about my social presence. Yeah. It's about what my brand speaks about.
Yeah.
That's much more important because it determines how much you're going to survive, to be frank. To me, that's more important than the price. The price, it's always easy to put a price tag on anything. Yeah. But you put a price tag on a service or a product that will sell itself before you even start talking.
Yeah. Now let's take the golden question. What do you think in terms of this? Do you think entrepreneurs are born or made? Because some people think there are people that just from birth they're always but I feel like some of those stories are exaggerated.
Sure.
And you kind of look back and say, he was playing with toys and this. We kind of knew he was going to own
it's gonna be a chef. When I saw him buying a chicken.
So I feel like some of those things are exaggerated. Sure. But what do you think in terms of that? Do you think some people are born, made, or can you kind of train someone to be an entrepreneur?
I think entrepreneurship is a choice.
Yeah.
You might actually grow up in a family that is pro entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But you become a full-time employee.
Yeah.
You might grow in a family where everyone is like a doctor. And you become like a whole entrepreneur. Different.
Yeah.
I feel like entrepreneurship is a choice that we make based on what makes us happy.
Yeah.
So are they made? Maybe. Are they born? It's a biological question.
Yeah.
But I feel like the choice to become an entrepreneur is how the make of it comes to play. To say, I'm where I am today because I didn't know what a business model canvas is.
Yeah.
But I learned about it.
Yes.
I didn't know what a cash flow statement was. I'll tell you because I never did commerce or accounts in my whole school life. So as I sit here today, I've not a single day have I sat in any accounts or any commerce related class. But do I know my cash flows? I do. Do I know my balances? I've learned. Do I know business systems? Do I know operation systems? Do I know how to do this? I've learned it. It's a concise decision that I made to plunge myself within that space. To say, if I actually choose to become an entrepreneur, what are the skill sets that I am required? It's not only about the idea.
Yeah.
We also feel like having the idea is the end goal. To say that, if I have the next big software that will determine how the next 5 years of weather systems is going to look like, which will help farmers, is it. But then, what are the processes? How do you present your data? How do you ensure that the community buying to the idea is a need? Is it something that is scalable? Is it something that we can still talk about 10 years down the line when integrations of artificial intelligence are coming in?
Yeah.
And how relevant will your business become? Are you aligning? So all those are lessons that I feel entrepreneurs go through every day. Because AI just came. A lot of people have been threatened about it. A lot of people are integrating it into their systems. Yeah. So it's those moments, is those things that we're speaking about that I feel like make an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've also played the role of a mentor. This is actually how we, we're talking virtually, but this is the first time meeting in person. But we met through this program that was being run by UNDP and Ibu Hub, and you were one of our business mentors. And so I just wanted to ask, like, how does that help you in your own business, because, obviously when you are looking at someone else's business, you're being objective about it and you're giving them lessons. And sometimes maybe those lessons you've applied them yourself.
Sometimes you're actually learning them.
You're learning them. Or maybe you also get to learn from the mentees themselves. So how has that process been for you, and what were maybe some of the highlights in terms of not just in the Youth Connect kind of base, but generally as a mentor, where you have young people coming to you wanting all sorts of business advice?
So why I plunged myself in the incubation space, for instance, for me, it was mostly to learn to create partnerships.
Yeah.
To say, if my business is within the mobile detailing space, I'm going to need someone with the next best application for a membership scheme, or someone with a good social media strategy.
Yeah.
Or someone with a good chemical that is going to shape the next industry in terms of detergents. It's things like that make me also get into mentorship, because when I also give people the things I've learned, I also get to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like mentorship is a two-way system. You deliver what you've learned, and you transgrade.
Yeah.
But you also get to learn how other businesses, how their systems can potentially build or destroy them. How it's important to mimic systems. So if you're speaking to someone who's doing coding, for instance, a chance for me to say, okay, fine, look, I have this idea. How do I make it a reality?
Yeah.
I'm still giving you business mentorship about how to make that a product that goes to market. Because remember, when I did that program with UNDP, our mentorship, my line was how to get to market. So potentially how you get to position your brand, position your product ready to get in the market. You also get to learn about the different market penetration schemes that is according to different entrepreneurs, is according to different services and products. And that, for me, allowed me to reshape my business in a manner that I feel allows it to grow. I always feel that when you hear the next entrepreneur story, 60% of it will resonate what you've gone through.
Exactly.
40% is sometimes a unique story. So it's in those unique stories that you actually get to know what the other landscape is like outside. So you get to either align, you get to either protect yourself from growth, or you actually get to ensure that you don't take that route because there's always that 40% unique story that no one else shares. That only you have gone through about your business. In the nature of how our businesses are different. And to me, those stories are important. It's important to hear those stories and to see how we turn that 40 to join the next 60 and get you closer to, it will never be an ideal 100% system, but at least near a good threshold of making sure that every day when you go to sleep, you're confident that it might not be the money, but the systems make sense.
Makes sense, definitely. Thank you so much, Paul, for the wisdom and for all that you've shared. We really appreciate it. And I think as parting words, maybe you can share some, books that have inspired you, that you can share with fellow entrepreneurs and people that are looking to get into business or just, for personal growth. Some of the stuff that has helped you also in your journey.
So I have one particular book that I will never stop talking about. So there's a book by Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist.
I read that book.
The Alchemist, ultimately, for me,
one of the first books I finished, like cover
to cover.
I think
The Alchemist for me was, to be frank, it's a book that I read in 2017. Before I even started my entrepreneurship journey, because I was coming from college, confused, to be frank, to say, am I going to become a chemist full time? Am I going to? And someone just gave me that book. I remember I got that book together with The Art of War. So I got immersed myself into The Alchemist. The Alchemist talks about the journey. The Alchemist shows you about how the journey is, what the journey might be, what the journey is not, what the journey could be, what you create. Remember, when we're speaking about paths. To me, my mindset about paths really comes from that book to say, sometimes we create paths that we want to follow, but those paths change. How do you position yourself when you get on a different path? How do you still find purpose in your life? How do you still find the confidence to rub off your feet and say, we're going on this path, but we're doing it on my terms. If it's a rough path, we're putting this type of shoes because it's the shoes that are necessary for us to walk here. If it becomes thorny, it's us putting on these shoes for it to become easier. If it's becoming watery, how do we slide through it? How do we swim through it? Only then do you create an integration within what's given upon you. It's also about how fast you are to react to your society, to things around you. Reaction to things around you in either integrating it or putting it aside is important because it shows that your mind is open to whatever is coming towards you. So that book, to be frank, really reshaped. It's just a 94-page, dude. I'm sure you know. It's a 94-page book that I feel like sometimes when you get to a point in your life where you're not sure what you're doing, get yourself The Alchemist. A lot of it will resonate with what you're going through because then you get to a point where you wake up and you're confused, like, should I do this? Should I close the business? But then what makes you happy? What makes you happy, if you put the energy in what makes you happy, I believe that you will find ways to make things work in the things that you're passionate about. So when you think that things have hit the fan, how do you re-strategize?
Yeah.
It's that energy to re-strategize that is more important when you get to hit the fan that defines who you are or where you want to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. I definitely second that read. Alchemist was one of my favorite books to read. So where do people find you? Where do people find Sparkle if they want? I think I saw a post where you said you guys now do homes as well.
Yeah, so Sparkle is now slowly growing. Just next month, we're actually launching our very first physical site.
Oh, okay.
At number 105 Harare Drive, Marlborough, just opposite Seven Center. Awesome. So in the same integration, we've realized mobile is not only going to give us the dividends that we want. So why not give people the full blown? So if I don't come to your house, there's still a place where you come in. And now the exciting thing about 105, we also have partnered with another business that does a food truck. So when you come in, you can sit, you can eat, and you can get your car washed. So I'm also part of an organization called ABC Connect that is under ABC Auctions. So ABC Connect makes me happy because it allows me to meet with professionals on a monthly basis, cut across 3 different locations. So ABC Auctions is established in Bulawayo, Harare, and Lusaka, and we've made a deliberate move to create a platform where like-minded professionals can come through to connect and network. So once every month, we host networking events where we actually put you in a room and say, force yourself to speak to the next person. We literally force you to speak to the next person. We believe that when you want to get more business, your chance of actually getting to speak to the next person is directly. Once you get over the fear of actually pitching your business directly to the next person and actually possibly getting a service or getting the next partner is within that. And within that networking, we're also growing a community. So our purpose is to grow a community, to create a content-based community where, other than that, once a month, we give you content that has to do with how other businesses, organizations, entrepreneurs, startups are also doing outside there. So we're actually launching our inaugural newsletter in October, where we get to share those stories from those brands, where we get to share those stories from those startups, where we get to sell our own story as ABC Connect as we speak about what the whole ABC group is about and how our business shapes what we speak about.
Great, awesome. So share with us how people can get on this waiting list for the newsletter and also where people can find you online.
So easy for you to be a part of the ABC family. You download our app, our auctions app. Once you do that, you're eligible to get access to a lot of information cut across all the 6 brands, because it's not only auctions. We've got ABC Retail, ABC Connect, ABC Reach, a Blast marketing platform. So also you can follow on our socials, ABC Connect, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, where we get to share all the stories, all the amazing feedback, all the amazing events that we have cut across all 3 industries. So we want to create a cross-sectional path for entrepreneurs, for organizations, for professionals to be able to network within the same space with like-minded people and create a community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul, man. Thank you for coming to the Shape Notes podcast.
Yes.